It's the breaking story this hour. South Africa's unemployment rate has increased to 29% in the second quarter, the highest level in 11 years. The number of unemployed people increased by 1.4 percentage points from 27.6% in the first quarter. The most number of jobs that were lost were in the private household sector, the transport and mining sectors. Statistics South Africa has painted a grim picture of the local jobs market in the second quarter. Bad news continues to plague the economy. Many predict the latest unemployment figures will impact South Africa's standing with international ratings agencies. Unemployment at a whopping 29% between April and June is the highest rate of joblessness since the first quarter of 2008. The largest increases in employment were recorded in trade, community and social services. So for more on this story, we cross to my colleague Arabile Gumede, who's in Pretoria for us and was attending that Statistics South Africa briefing. Thanks very much for joining us, Arabile. Very shocking statistics indeed. Just give us a rundown of what came out of the briefing.
Yeah, good afternoon, Nompo. Well, the numbers have certainly been quite harrowing indeed, right? So the highest number with regards to unemployment in 11 years, and that really tells you the story around just how South Africa has gone from bad to worse. The last time we sat anywhere close to this was 27.7%, and that was back in 2017, the first and the second quarters of that situation. And that time, of course, we've struggled to get growth growing beyond anywhere near 1%. So, of course, things were bound to get worse and worse and worse from here. So Rasenga Maluleka, the Statistician General, a little bit earlier, really detailing how, of course, we wanted unemployment to sit near and around 14% by 2030 in accordance with the National Development Plan. That idea seemingly gone out the window, so things are not going well at all. And it does mean that we go at this point with industries and sectors that continue to lose jobs. Mining, even though the restructuring has certainly happened across that industry, it does mean that they've continued to hemorrhage and lose jobs. So it certainly also does paint a very, very bad picture for the likes of private households, which certainly have lost around 49,000 jobs too. You have the local front, the likes of finances as well, not necessarily doing as well as one would have liked. The likes of agriculture as well, not adding as many jobs as would certainly have been liked. Let's remember as well that the number of discouraged workers has actually increased too. That tells you then that the sentiment around trying to find a job in South Africa's economy has certainly worsened. And if South Africa does not grow at population growth, that, remember, we have 58.8 million people in the country now. If we aren't growing at around 1.5, 1.8%, we certainly aren't helping anybody in terms of economic stimulation either.
Arabile, what about that very critical statistic that we do tend to look at, that of youth unemployment? What are we seeing there?
32.3%. That tells you the real sentiment, and that's just age 15 to 24, right? If you were to take that up to around 34 years of age, you get to the 50s, so around 56 odd percent. So it gets worse, and the skill level is certainly one to be put in question then, right? So it does mean that in the younger age groups that the skills are still being developed, but we clearly haven't developed them enough by the time they hit their mid-30s, and that just bodes ill, really, for the rest of their lives. So South Africans certainly struggling to find a job in this economy. And no matter what the situation is, the economic stimulus we've tried to add into the economy certainly seems to come from investment in accordance with the president. But where has that investment gone? We keep speaking about the fourth industrial revolution, which the president himself has admitted would certainly mean that jobs would get lost in some regions, but would certainly mean that we gain some sort of skills in others. But if we haven't been able to amplify and give the correct skills and the most basic of skills right now, how then do we move towards that fourth industrial revolution, already short of skills that are entirely basic to aiding and helping South Africa's growth? Barely being able to grow 1%, that's not going to help anybody.
Arabile, I did see that figure came out just after, or just at 11:30, and thereafter I had a look at what the rand was doing. Yes, it had depreciated relative to other currencies, especially the US dollar, but not by that much, which suggests that it seems as though the markets are almost used to South Africa just having really bad unemployment statistics.
Yeah, it certainly does tell you that story, right? Around 0.4% weaker overall, around 14.22 against that US dollar. But let's remember that it isn't just the the unemployment numbers that the markets are watching. But yes, they do bode a very negative picture. And I'm sure investors would have certainly looked at that and said, well, we kind of expected this out of South Africa, considering the fact that 2 ratings agencies last week alone had warned us that things could go from bad to worse. I wouldn't be surprised if Moody's very soon comes out with their ratings assessment, and that it has certainly dropped South Africa to non-investment grade. It certainly would hurt a lot, and you can expect that rand to then blow out if things do go in that direction. But it does mean as well that a lot of the focus is on the 2-day meeting that is starting today then by the Federal Reserve out in the United States. A cut in interest rates of 25 basis points is expected by Fed Chair Jerome Powell tomorrow. But what that means as well for the global perspective, I suppose, is of key interest. Plus, the US-China trade talks have kicked off again. So yes, a whole host of international data. But yes, indeed, these numbers did play some part in the rand weakening ever so slightly. It's just not a complete blowout as we've seen in the past.
Arabile, thank you very much for that report. My colleague there, Arabile Gumede. Nzinga, back over to you.